Now I'll call convene the Board of Health at 6:01 p.m. And the first item on the agenda is the Vermont Route 30 Harmonyville property. And there was an inspection done by Craig Hunt and Rob Wright. Did they get a copy of that?
They got a copy of just the...
Did you all?
I figured we might find out it, but...
The August 18th findings? Okay. And they basically reaffirmed that in fact the water to the premise was working. And the recommendation was to lift the stay with the health order. Do you either want to?
I didn't talk to Rob too much about it afterwards, but I assume you're in consent of that or in company or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, we turned the water on all ends of the trailer and it worked fine. And
Let it run for a while. Laundry, bathroom, flush the toilet a couple times, kitchen full bore. Didn't drink it, it looks fine.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, there was a cost and a fine levied against.
That's in the land records. It's on the
It's in
property.
the land records.
Right, that's on the property. But in terms of the curative measures for the health issue, health order, the water was one. Smoke and carbon dioxide detectors were others. They seem to be in place. There was a new one in a package on a couch ready to go up, but it looked like there'd been some attention paid. And the place looked pretty clean and ready to go. So.
But has that been paid yet, the fine?
That won't get paid until the property is transferred, sold. I guess it runs with the property, that's all I know on that.
It's getting sold?
Well, it's not getting sold, but it's a
It's a
lien.
lien against the property.
It's a first lien
I'm
of the
just telling you
property.
what my line of thinking is. I'm wondering if there's a process by which we can levy the expenses that we have incurred and forgive the fine. Because I'm not sure what
There was
purpose
no
the fine is.
fine.
The other was.
it
No,
was a $10,000 fine, which I thought was
It wasn't
supposed to be, it wasn't a fine?
it wasn't a
Yeah, but
fine.
it was made right, talk during this meeting. I was here, it said if they wanted to re-incur the expenses, and then they turn around and tack all that on, I don't think that's expenses.
It was a court judgment. It was a settlement. Rather than going to court, the parties agreed to a settlement, and that settlement was a lien.
And she did too. I mean,
And she signed
agreed
that
to
as well.
Yeah.
The lien is currently filed.
To avoid going to court. She was in communication with our attorney. He indicated to her that the costs subsequent to court would run her probably that much, if not more.
Right.
And I don't know enough about it, but obviously court is expensive. But she agreed to settle prior to going to trial, or prior to going to court for that amount. I was surprised, but she did that. And he put through paperwork which ended up in the land records, which is basically a first lien against the property,
Which was signed by the judge.
which has been signed by the
Right, I
judge.
understand that.
Yeah.
I understand all of that.
But in terms of any fines or compensations for the town for legal expenses, those are kind of included in that, and I don't know
That's
how we
all.
would recover.
You have a copy of that? handy?
Copy of the,
It's in the land records. It's not really relevant to whether or not we lift it.
no, you have a copy, I'm sure.
Well, I think that it is, because when we lift the health order, then it's completed. I
No,
mean,
the lien,
whole-
no, the
The
lien is,
lien is then released.
no, it's not. You're an attorney, tell him.
The lien will survive. Not that I'm giving the town legal advice.
No.
The lien is in the land records. It was a settlement. It was a judgment. There is a caveat that I don't really want to discuss in public.
Okay.
But there is a caveat to that we can talk in executive session about if we have to, but
Okay.
You know, as far as lifting the health order so that the landlord can actually rent the property. I would entertain a motion to do something with this piece of property.
I would make a motion that we lift the health order on,
The address, I
the
believe.
premises at 1314 Vermont Route 30.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Lift, rescind. Well, let's make it. Motion to lift.
Motion to void, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of,
Did we have a
lifting-
second? I'm sorry.
Yes, it was Rob.
sorry.
Of lifting the health order on Vermont 1314, or Vermont Route 30, 1314, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay. Motion passes. I vote in the affirmative. All right, then we have Peggy's Lane, which I believe you individuals are here to speak to.
We are, thank you. We're here to report on progress on this body's order. The first enumerated paragraph was that the roofing be repaired or replaced so as to prevent any leakage. That has been done and will be confirmed by the health inspector's eventual re-inspection. The next is that the electrical service be examined by a qualified electrician and brought up to code. And the third is that functioning smoke and carbon monoxide detectors be installed. We view that as both being in the purview of an electrician. Amanda Thomas arranged for an electrician to come to the property. She gave the tenant her required 48 hours notice that the electrician would be coming, and received a voicemail back, which we can play if you like, that if she were to step foot in the premises, she would be arrested for trespassing, and that she can't get in anyway because she's changed the locks. Ms. Thomas spoke with the state trooper, who indicated that despite having given appropriate notice, at this point, even going in would probably serve no good. So that has not been accomplished. It may well require the involvement of the courts to get an order that they be permitted to go in and perform the work in order to comply with the health order. The next matter was that the shared septic system be assessed for adequacy. In discussions with Michael Marquise of Marquise and Morano, he basically said, you know, there's really no assessment for adequacy because this is a clean slate septic system. So unless it's failed, it's deemed adequate. And there's no sign of failure. The only sign of failure is the tenant self-reporting to the health officer who observed nothing in the way of that. The septic was pumped and inspected, or the tank was pumped and inspected in 2013. There was admittedly one backup, which involved tearing up part of the septic in order to discover that it was something that was flushed down the toilet by the tenant in question, which should not have been flushed down the toilet. That plug was removed and it's worked flawlessly ever since. So we would ask that this board issue an amended health order allowing Ms. Thomas an additional 30 days in which to get the electrical service combined with the smoke detector and the carbon monoxide detector installed, which, as I said, may well involve the court's involvement. And we'd also ask that the amended order either eliminate the requirement to assess the adequacy of the shared septic system. And I would base that request on the fact that the only report of it failing is by the tenant. And here's a tenant who I think her credibility has been called into question by the mere fact that she demanded the electrical service be accomplished and then didn't even allow it to be done. But Amanda is making progress. She's trying her best to get this work done. And as I said, we'd ask for an amended order to be issued.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
On the septic system, does it serve more than one premise?
It does.
So it serves multiple households?
It
Two
does.
tenants. Yeah.
2 households?
Yes.
And
And the other household has no issues?
exactly, that's what I was just about to say.
Any questions?
Did the person, when they rented it, did they look at it before they rented it, or were they just renting it on a, like, we're calling from Virginia and want to rent a place in Vermont?
No, Amanda inherited this property from her father, and her father brought this tenant in. And the tenant had no complaints really until she was given a notice to pay the past due rent. And that's when most of these complaints came to light. That's when the tenant called the town health inspector. So she was there for a while without complaint.
Any further questions?
No, I know if Mike Marquis looked at it,
I don't want to misspeak. He did not look at it.
well, I know, but it checked it will give you information on it.
Well, he explained that the precise request of this order, that it be assessed for adequacy, is kind of a misnomer just because of how the clean slate process works.
So I would entertain a motion to do something. Somebody needs to put something on the table.
Well, I'd make a motion that we grant the request to extend the order for 30 days so that the electrical service can be examined as ordered, and that we about the septic system. And that we rescind the order number 4 of this assessment of the septic system.
So you want to basically modify the order to just include the electrical service
Right.
and the
Yep.
smoke and carbon monoxide detectors?
Yep.
Okay.
This is another 30 days, that's what you're asking, right?
Yes.
Is there a second for that?
Can I request to make it 28 days and bring it to October 5th, which is your first meeting in October?
Is that okay?
It is. These folks are also planning their wedding, so they're kind of
Probably,
preoccupied.
juggle all these.
Yeah.
But should we, send a health order against her if she don't want them in?
I don't think we
No,
can.
we can't.
That's the
That's gonna be
landlord's
their
responsibility to deal with
responsibility
the
to
tenant.
courts.
The landlord, or the tenant brought us in. The tenant's the one that complained. So, as he said, that quite frankly, the tenant not letting them in to repair the issues that she complained about. Okay?
Right.
So, all those in favor of amending the health order by extending it for 30 days?
Well, to October 5th.
Okay, excuse me, to October 5th.
Right.
And
For the
basically amending it to
For the landlord to address electrical.
the electrical smoke and carbon dioxide detectors. Okay? There's already a motion, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. So we will in fact write up a new one. We'll send it out to you all. And when you get a chance, when this work is done, you could be so kind as to provide us with some paperwork.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And if we can get it done before then, we'll notify the town that they can
That's
come out
fine.
and re-inspect.
Because it
If she'll let them in.
Dr. Schaefer, needless to say, is a very busy gentleman. It's difficult for him to get out there, so the more lead time he has, the faster we can get this cleared up as well.
Yeah, very good. And we'd only like him, excuse me, we'd only like him to have to go out once. So when you're all set, we'll just get this rubber stamped.
Okay.
We'll have a file for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I would entertain the motion to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Health.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, this isn't working. All those in favor of adjourning the Board of Health, signify by saying aye. Okay, that was better. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We weren't gonna get it done with one. All right.
Have that order back?
Yes,
No, no, just this one here.
okay. So then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 13th. Did you second?
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of August 13th, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 17th.
Second.
There's no motion.
Motion.
So moved, okay. So Rob made the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Or a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Did you vote yes?
Yep.
Okay. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 31st. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion, approving the minutes of August 31st, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. All right, so that moves us on to the additions and deletions. We need to add, under new business, we need to add land sales, the closing for the sale of the property, town property. And under old business, we need to add as well, state management decision letter. That's concerning, the audit in 2014. And we need to add Ellenware Road.
For the 5K?
Yeah.
Yep.
New business.
Is there anything else that needs to be added or taken off?
Can we, is there somewhere where we're gonna talk about the response to the letter for the pilot program?
That might be under members of the public, as I understood it, and I didn't list that out separately because there wasn't so much the pilot, but there was a draft letter from the planning commission.
That's not pilot.
Yeah, this is right. Well,
Just on the conditions at the dam. It came up at the last meeting, and
yeah, this is part of
that's,
it.
yeah, I gave you a copy of that, but it wasn't on the agenda, but we can certainly add that.
And the reason I think we need to discuss it is because there's a number of people in town that are upset with the way the dam is kept, and we want to talk about that as well as the refusal to increase any payments. It's 1982 or 81. I'm not sure where you're going to put that. That's a response to our letter.
No, which came back and the board dealt with it in December of 2014. All right, where do you want to have it?
The dam was kind of on the agenda, but then not, and then Kathy received notice that some people from the public may be here to talk about it. Bob Servo may be in at that point as well to talk with them. However, we'll add this under.
We'll just do it.
We'll add it under other business or new, but I'll make a note.
All righty, moving on, under highway,
On the pavement now, what are you gonna do about East Hill and the Grafton Road, which starts at David Cares and goes to Charlie Manson?
well, the first thing we have to do is make it clear that we finally did in fact get our money for the upper section of Grafton Road
Oh, yeah.
and for East Hill, not for East Hill, for Athens Road. We had to fight, we had to beg, we had to threaten, we had to do numerous other things to get our full funding for that because an error was made in filing the paperwork. We did in fact get it. So I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I think we got.
128,404, you do have, I think it's the, is it the red copy there that you have to sign? It's the grant agreement, the one with the little drawings on it, the second one down.
No, this is the, that's not the grant. That's the tax anticipation note.
Okay,
That's gotta be the grant.
yeah, okay. If you go to here, this on here page, right in front of that, I believe is the,
And that's the approval for,
it was the grant that was awarded back in May for 128.4. It got changed to 113 because we were apparently out of compliance. We had some communications with the powers that be, and we got it back to what was originally awarded.
129,404
129,404.
is what's
Yep.
approved. And I believe we figured out that.
That was 80% of the anticipated cost, which was 161. The lowest bid, however.
For those two
For
sections.
those two sections is 176, and that contract has been awarded to
That's right.
Springfield Paving. We did that a while back. But we're not getting 80% in a grant. We're getting 80% of what Kurt originally estimated the project to cost, which was 161.
So this is two steps. First of all, we have to either accept or whatever this grant. We've already awarded the contract. We've gotten the money straightened out. So we either need to decide to sign the grant application or the grant. Or,
That grant application starts just south of Deer Valley and goes to the Athens line. And there's a strip up.
Up on Grafton
Out in
Road.
Grafton Woods.
Right. However, not included in that grant is the necessary shoulder work, which is also a part of his estimate. But I don't, well, it is included in the grant amount. He asked for 161, of which 156 he thought was going to be paving. The paving came in at low bid 176. In addition to the 156 that he wanted for paving, there was another 5 or 6 or 7 or something for shoulder work that needed to be done. I assume the highway crew was gonna do that shoulder work in anticipation of putting new guardrails up that road. But that shoulder work, I don't think Springfield does. They're not gonna haul riprap and whatever. So that shoulder work is above and beyond. So you're in it for 176 with Springfield on the asphalt for those two roads. But there's shoulder work that needs to be done as well on Grafton Road for another 5 or 6. So the actual cost is gonna be closer to 182, of which we do have a grant for 129. But it's not, the grant isn't the 80% amount that the state would usually cover because we didn't ask for enough up front. But we did get,
but this grant, this isn't application, this is just acceptance of?
this is
We've already done that,
signing for the
right?
grant.
they already awarded us the grant at 129, but then in the process of writing up the agreement that we would have to sign, they backtracked because it looked like we didn't have a network inventory that was within the time frame because Kurt said we didn't. So they changed it to 113. We got it back to the 129. However, our network inventory is out of date now. So you don't want to do this, you don't want to apply for any more for a little while until we get that up to snuff again.
Oh, we got this, we want to be, hang do it.
Right. It's just that we're getting 130, we're gonna spend 182 and change, and our portion of the cost is relatively high compared to what we were anticipating.
But did they send you money
Because we didn't.
I'm sorry?
Because
last year,
it went out of
budget?
something.
We didn't reserve any before June 30th. We have about 6,000 in reserve, and I believe there was 70-something budgeted for this year.
Yeah,
As I recall.
there is not enough, all money's in one pool. There is not enough budgeted to do it all,
It just
with the
isn't.
inclusion of this grant.
Which is why those two, the East Hill and the lower part of Grafton Road were being held until we heard from the line of credit people at People's Bank. Which we have heard from.
but it wasn't budgeted.
Them two, if we ever get the money, we just can't do them.
Well, they were added as an afterthought anyway when the
They're
bid
not
was-
part of the original application.
Right.
No, but I say if the money's not there, there ain't much you can do about it.
Kurt wanted to put them in there, he either forgot to put them on he either forgot them on the original application or the application for the grant, but when I wrote up the RFP, they were not on there. Ed yelled at me about, we really need to do East Hill in the lower part of Grafton Road. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. So he pointed it out, he gave me Kurt was on vacation at that point. And Kurt had apparently reminded Ed to remind me or something that we needed RFPs for those two sections as well. So we got the RFP, but I broke it out into 4 little jobs,
Right.
thinking this is gonna get expensive in a hurry.
Yeah.
And, well, it did, but we have a grant for the first 2, which are the,
So I make a motion that we sign the grant with the Vermont State Agency of Transportation as outlined in document received August 31st, 2014.
okay, so it's the grant.
Contract number P01632.
P01632. Contract agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of signing the AOT paving grant agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. So that takes care of the grant portion. Now back to Irv's original question. What about Grafton Road and East Hill? Grafton Road B and East Hill?
For a total cost of. I didn't bring my.
I've got it.
I gotta
I have
dig,
it. I saved it.
I gotta do a little bit. Let's see, for East Hill and Grafton B, we have roughly 40,000 and
36, I don't have it.
34,000, so 40 and 34 is 74.
$74,000.
Yeah.
And then it'll be plus shoulder work, plus.
I don't know about shoulder work on either of those, but I do know it was a special,
You're gonna have to do something.
well, no, I don't doubt that, but it was
Because you raise that pavement an inch and a half,
yeah. Well, yeah.
So you're gonna be looking at $80,000 for those two pieces.
Probably, yeah. Now, last year we did budget, what it says, 5,500, something like that, in reserve, we did budget, was it 70, Kathy? For paving?
Yes, I
I
believe it
think so,
was.
somewhere around 70.
but after this, you're gonna have to do different than
I
that.
mean, we could have that done and get it on the line of credit.
My understanding is that the Springfield paving will hold that quote. Well, the last I heard last
Just
week.
because, I mean, it makes sense to do it if we can. I know
If they're here and they've got the rolling
Here
machines.
they're rolling machines, because those roads, I've looked at them, that East Hill is bad.
Pretty good time, it's a pretty good time of year to pave.
But we also need to keep in mind the fact that Kurt is repeatedly doing this to us, changing the rules. And then we have to scramble to try to figure out how to pay for things.
Well, I know, just
Let
on
him get
another
away with
subject,
it.
all
Well,
the
it's not
errors
just-
and mistakes have cost us over $100,000 in a year. You add them up, you know, between culverts and not measuring this right and doing other, you're talking about $100,000 deficit in the highway department for mistakes and errors, and I don't know what to do, but anyhow, that's a whole different thing.
So what's your pleasure on East Hill and Grafton?
Joe, where are we at? We can get that money to do that, right?
I like the back, but it's those two
I
right
think
there.
you're only gonna get 225.
50.
You did put 250 when I talked.
Yes, this notice for $250,000 is issued in anticipation of the collection of taxes.
That's what I asked for.
Right.
Well, you did well.
But are we gonna?
Well, there are caveats.
I'm just wondering, you know, when that note comes due to pay, where we're gonna be at, you know, I'm trying to look
Well,
at.
remember, we've got that, possibly got that culvert up there in Grafton Road. I don't know, where are we with that? The big culvert, the big box.
I'll have to talk to Kurt about it. I'm still working on the easement portion of it, but my understanding was Renell was not gonna be able to get to it before October. That Kurt had been working with Mark Pickering, I believe it is, or, is it Mark Pick? Who? For the extension, for the extension of time to work in the
The
street?
water. Yeah.
Topic is,
Todd McNeese, right. And I haven't talked to Hammond in a while, so I really don't know where we are on that, but that's 100 and something.
My biggest worry would be to spend every penny we have in the highway department, and then end up having that culvert come in. We've already signed a contract on that, and we're awarded it. And to have that come in April, May, when they can go back in the water, knowing that you don't have to be paid off the end of June and not being able to do it.
They can't go until
You can't get
June.
into the 15th of June without it.
Dead there again.
That note has to be paid by June 30th. We may
Right.
have a hell of an auction in May.
Go to Sterling.
That's another
I
story.
mean, that's another big story.
I mean, I don't really like all these grants that are hanging over our head, these major projects, and with no funding source, no timeline, and nobody to discuss them with.
Well, we have to look at the timeline on that Grafton turn one, but Renault could not get to it this fall, as last I understood.
When's the
Yeah.
last time that you understood?
Huh?
When's the last time you talked with them?
With Renault, it's been a couple of months.
But it doesn't matter.
We
It's
should
still-
make contact, yeah, but it could matter, Kit, if they've made progress in a project. I know they're working on a huge project over at Bromley, and that's one of the big tie-ups. And, you
But
know,
it's still, what I'm saying, it's still in this budget frame, even if they wait till do it spring, so.
yeah.
it's-
And
But
most of
I'm
that-
saying it might be good to talk to Mike or Dave
Yeah.
and see what see if they are gonna be able to do it or not.
It was Charlie.
Not only that, you've gotta see
Most of that is
any
covered by a grant.
matching money, there's a set time limit on it.
Well, that's why we should
That's
talk
what
to
we
them.
should talk to them.
Right, that's why we need, I'll get whatever I can work out on that. We'll have to do that this weekend,
Ken-
plus the easements.
Do you know when they're gonna start paving?
He's gonna come, Springfield Paving's coming either way, see the third, that's why,
This week?
yep. That's why he, called me tonight.
So they need a decision.
Yeah. Tonight. I just feel like we're putting ourselves right in a sling.
Well, no, Riverdale Road is pretty good. Plum Road to your house is pretty good. We might as well fix the road in front of Mike's house and of course hers.
I don't really, you do whatever you want, but I need a motion on the table to do something. I just have a real problem going out on a limb
Yeah.
with something that wasn't budgeted, it wasn't even discussed. It got thrown into the RFP at the last minute.
Yeah.
And the road foreman wasn't even there to discuss it. It came from a secondary,
It came from through
an
me.
employee. Right.
And now it's all dug up with new culvert
Well, that was the plan.
pieces.
But they're paved in, so.
Yeah.
So they're good until it gets cold?
No, that hot mix will stay.
Oh, yeah, that'd be really
That
good.
culvert is sinking.
All of them are sinking, Joe.
Yeah, but the one by Corey's.
You get, like I said last week, you get about 65, you're playing right over them nicely.
The one that bottom down. But your roof is supposed to be taken care of this year
Putting
too.
their neck in a noose.
Well, we ain't get the money, we don't have the money, that's the way it is. No, it's tight.
Well, you do have the money, it's just that it's gonna get it's spread pretty thin in a hurry.
Too thin to hurry.
Well, because there's also a salt contract on the table tonight, and sand is gonna be the same price. Well, we got
Hill and, what is it, the Grafton Road?
Grafton B.
Grafton B.
And look at doing it in our budget for next year. I mean,
You want to table it, or you just wanted to?
I think you gotta leave it. I mean, there's no need in tabling it because they're here now and they, after.
Can't do it this year.
If we don't make a decision tonight, they ain't gonna do it this year anyhow.
Which means that we should
Which means
technically
that
shouldn't
we'll
table it.
Do it, include it in next year's budget. I don't know how else to do it.
The only thing you can do.
Revisit it.
Okay.
Cause see, but Up on Grafton, on the hill there, where that's got into, that's part of the grant pavement, that's in the grant.
Well, I understand that, but these other two pieces.
No, I said these other two.
come in at $80,000, you ain't got it, that's what it is.
All right,
We
then.
budget it next
then
year.
we'll-
So is the motion to postpone?
There was never a
You can't
motion.
make, well, okay, Kit was in the process. You
Yeah,
can't make a negative motion.
No, just to,
Right, you can't make a negative,
I would just,
table indefinitely.
I'm trying to find a way around a negative motion of saying not to contract, not to do it. I mean, don't do it.
Take it up during budget season. Look forward to doing it next.
Well, then-
next
then-
fiscal year.
Just to.
Then make a motion to do it and we'll defeat it. It's a positive motion that we defeat.
Do you want to crunch numbers harder?
Well, no, I don't
Because
think
we do have
it's
this
too
line of
late.
credit. Okay.
Number
yeah.
one, we gotta make a decision
Okay.
tonight, and I think the decision is not to do it.
Okay, then I would make a motion to do it.
Right,
And then vote
defeat it.
against it, which is what Kathy was saying.
I'd make a motion to pave East Hill and Grafton B
As specified.
as specified in the plans.
Yeah. East Hill. Good.
Second,
Grafton.
Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed,
aye.
Aye.
abstentions, the motion is defeated.
Okay.
That's a way of going with a positive on a negative.
So we have to do it. So then moving on, the next one is gonna be just as much fun. This one is the sand and salt, or this is just salt, excuse me. The salt contract for this coming winter. It is up, what was it, $2 a ton?
Yeah, it's up, I think, 4%, 3%, 4%. It was 78 last year, it's 80 this year. You put a cap on it last year at 500 a ton.
It's 81.80 this year.
Okay, so it's up almost 5%, 4.5.
How much?
Yeah, tonnage.
Well, last year we signed a contract for 500 tons. The actual usage was not quite 750.
Again, I mean, you guys have heard me say it time and time and again, I've talked to towns around, and they're astounded that we use 80 tons per mile on our blacktop roads. I mean,
Now,
it's
too much. You're using too much.
well, not only that, I mean, and I've said for a few winters, you go around the common, you go down,
No.
you go at the intersection of Riverdale Road where I could go out there and get 4 wheelbarrows that pile right up. They sit there with a truck and it runs out. You've seen it, Joe. I mean, piles of it. You look down my road, there's a pile 4 inches thick all the way straight down
You see it on the
through it.
common too.
And
Time to time.
it's 80 tons per mile. It's ridiculous. And that's gonna eat the
There's
blacktop.
gonna be somebody out there that says, well, I slipped and fell down.
That could happen.
If you know what I mean. So, it's like I think we don't buy any of them.
Okay, well, two things. One, if you do sign an agreement with Cargo, they like to have just a little advance. How much do you anticipate using? You're gonna use 200, 300, whatever, just so they can stockpile limit. 2, Kurt likes to order in advance because by the end of the winter, they do get short on, and some towns ran out last year and couldn't get resupplied. We stocked rather heavily, so we bought it right until the end. But when we hit that limit, because the board did set a limit on Kurt, when we did get close and hit that limit, he was reminded and he literally asked at every meeting if he could buy more. Because he was out, he was using up what was coming in. But when we got to the limit, he did not feel free to just pack the shed. So
But the thing is-
the limit did work, I'm saying, from a,
Thing is, you don't put it down, in time to get down, come down, hook onto snowplow and pull it all off. If you're gonna do that, pile the damn stuff off, then put your salt down.
well,
Yeah, but that's a application situation, not a
Well, that's,
How much should we order?
There's common
oh,
sense.
that's where your tonnage comes in.
Yeah, well, we need to figure out what we should order, not how he should apply it.
Well, I have to say, looking at the towns to the north and the south of us, neither one of those two towns uses hardly anything in the way of salt. Why, with us being in the middle, do we lay down 80 tons per mile?
And on places where there's very limited traffic.
I just don't understand how Newfane and Jamaica can get by with basically nothing, and yet we lay it down at 80 tons.
And both those towns have more blacktop road than we do.
So I'm very confused.
And to the extent that it's conditional, I don't think we have more blacktop on hills than not. You do need salt for Windham Hill Road. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And probably for Grafton Road going up into Grafton. But other than those two, I can't think of anything that's that, most of them are dirt that are steep.
But if you take your temperature down, let's say 24 degrees or below, salt don't melt too much.
It doesn't work at all under 10, I think, isn't it? Something like that, or 6.
At a time like that, that's when you mix a little bit of salt with and put some sand down.
And he evidently doesn't like to mix salt and sand. I got a lecture about that. Mixing salt and
That
sand.
may be what he
Well, so you
I got news for him.
You gotta put it in the Cuisinart sometime.
I don't know, I got lectured about that for some reason. I don't remember why. I wasn't paying attention.
And it's a discussion we need to take up with him, because it seems to work other places.
Well,
And a considerable savings.
so what's your pleasure on this contract with Cargill? He sent
I
me.
mean, is there a problem if we project that the same as we did last year and don't use that amount? I mean, do we get-
500?
Yeah,
No, last year you used 750.
well, that's what I'm saying, if we knocked,
Put a limit?
took a third off of it, we're at our projected amount. If we take, 2/3 off it, we're under it. Do we lose if we go under?
You're just gonna buy it at whatever the current rate is. That's the only difference. This is just locking in the price.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But-
We'd be better off.
Right, but there's no
project
limit,
over
there's no
than
limit, it's not like you have to
project.
buy at this price.
What do you got on that contract?
It's got 500 estimated tons at 81.80 a ton delivered.
No, I wouldn't go over that 500. That brings it back down to.
But it's not breaking it down.
What was anticipated last year, and they went over that.
Five was based on the use the year before, which was heavy. So this 5 was an outside amount, considering that last year in the fall, we thought, well, it might be a tough year. Let's at least cover our
They said this was.
rear end and we'll go to 5, and we'll have some left over. We won't buy that much, and then we went to 750.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're coming back if we go to 5. We're actually high at 5, given average usage, or what should be average usage. I think the year before we probably did, well, the year before we did about 5. The year before that, it was closer to 4 or 350. You can't predict the weather, but the price is going up steadily.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
When you first started on the board, it was 62 or something, it went to 78 last year, and now it's at 82.
I thought it was 40s.
Well,
That was days ago.
I can't keep up to it, but
but it kills the grass, it kills the lilacs and the trees, and it's,
well, that's that's a whole nother issue. Got plowed on.
doesn't kill the brush on the roadside.
Killed the trees.
But
Again, what's your pleasure with this contract?
I make a motion to sign it for 450.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Is there any reason for the certain 450 number, or just flipping a coin on it?
No, I mean, bring it back down somewhere near where it should be.
Where should it be?
Huh?
Where should it
450, just said.
Had to tell you, the winner you can't really tell, but,
be? I said, where should it be?
but at 500 or 550, at least this is bringing it back, and then they went, they practically double that.
Yeah.
So, if you cut it,
Well, there's
half what
I
they,
second Urban's motion
for 450.
for 450.
Is there any further discussion? I want to say right here, right now, before I put my name on this piece of paper, that he's going to be held to this unless there are special circumstances.
But there were last year, and that was,
He needs to-
we're out of salt in January. It's on your head that we have nothing to put on the roads. Because you won't let him buy any more.
But again, he
So
needs,
slippery roads became your problem in January, and because he had already used up his allocation of 500 tons.
we need to understand that this is a game that's going to be played.
I know, but
Have a meeting with them and, hey, it's so-and-so.
Okay,
Pay attention or there's consequences.
Calibrate the flow rate.
the game plan is gonna end, it's got to.
okay, so we're gonna do 450 tons, correct?
Yeah, can you do it
At
80?
8180.
8180.
So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of signing the cargo contract for 450 tons at 8180 signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay.
Now, that's just Cargill. Do you want to set a separate motion to restrict the highway department from using any more than that? Or is that premature? What's probably
I
premature?
think that's a little premature because I think that we have to.
Discuss salt
We
and
have to have a
sand.
meeting with
We have
the
to-
highway foreman and get issues straightened out as far as I'm concerned.
Right, no, that's what I think, we'll have to have the meeting and explain the thing out and this is the way it is.
All right. So let's do,
Sosimo.
we don't have Sosimo, anything from Sosimo at the moment.
No,
The price of those.
Same price as last year. I'm saying.
What was last year's price?
I don't know.
1310, I believe.
A yard?
Yeah.
But same,
I'm sorry, maybe 1350. I'm just,
same price the last 2 years and same this year.
I can look it up real quick. I just,
Well, we don't have a contract with them anyhow, right?
no, we're,
No one knows, he calls and they bring it.
yeah, it's convenient. We don't put it out to bid.
We don't contract with them?
Don't we have sand in our pit?
No.
You know?
We've used a lot.
Same thing as what they're delivering for sand.
Once, we do have it or we don't?
But you got the piles on there, you take a small bucket full and come up and get one up here in the shed, you're gonna see the same thing.
Okay,
So
so,
do we have sand in the pit or no?
No, that's right, that's what they tell me.
okay,
Who's telling? Kurt or the state?
Yeah, correct.
But there is sand, in your opinion, there's sand there.
Well, you'd have to sift the stone out of it, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Last year's haven't we had basin and?
It's the way they crush it is what he's talking about. Yeah. What, inch minus?
Well, let's get it out on the table. Do we have sand down in the pit or do we not?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay.
But I'm telling you that gravel we got, we could use it on sand if you run out.
okay, so,
Rice Street's supposed to be finishing up this next week, week and a half.
are we ready to move on with law enforcement then? There were-
That's the end of the highway.
The other two things is that little yard debris deposit area. Kurt told me was completed now. Deer Ridge is completed, the culvert work up in there. Something else happened too, I can't remember. Repair work on a couple of trucks. We're gonna need a little sign for dump your yard waste here from wherever. Paint something up on a piece of plywood, I guess, probably, or get something ordered, but.
That's just grass and leaves, right?
Yeah, it's limited to basically compostable yard waste essentially, without it being garbage. It's not kitchen trash.
Freeways and stuff like that.
Right, you don't want stuff that's woody. And he said he could clear a space down at the pit and designate an area down there as well. So if somebody has truck load, Russ Patronic comes in with brush, you don't want him dumping up there, you want him taking it down there. And you have to accept it, not that he will,
The
but
brush ain't nothing to do with yard waste.
no.
Russell dumps his stuff in his own yard.
Oh, I know, I'm saying, not that he would, but I mean, somebody comes up and does a fall cleanup, or if we have a hurricane or something, people want to get rid of the limbs. We have an ice storm, tree branches down, that kind of
We
thing.
don't have a brush dump or anything like that.
No, we could have, I mean, Kurt is always,
Yeah, but-
but most people take care of it
I
themselves.
was gonna say, because you get into big headaches out of it.
Okay, moving on to law enforcement. I don't believe there's anything to report. We haven't heard
We
anything from the
never got a
state
final,
police,
we never, yeah.
from anybody.
No,
There was
nothing.
nothing from the clerk since the office was closed today. Treasurer, I imagine Joe doesn't have, or maybe he does,
He
he's got
does.
a paper. Oh, I'm impressed.
Well, here you have like 1,489,30. But you subtract your ones you got in the general fund there that you haven't done nothing with, you're 160. You got about 1.2 million less. You gotta pay the schools, and I don't know what that bill is yet.
I don't believe we got
We
to
do not have it. I had a preliminary, which I can't find, but it doesn't matter, it's preliminary. Wyndham Central doesn't have it. Department of Education is working on the numbers still, they should be arriving this week, however. So you don't have the school numbers on the warrants. They will be due on the 17th, which is the day of your next meeting. If you approve them on the 17th, you're gonna be a day late in getting them out on the 18th. So, you get 20 days from the time you collect
You
access to
you
get them out.
technically can't wait for the warrant, they have to be paid on 17th.
Well, and that's okay, but I would request of this board that you make a motion to that effect, that when the treasurer has the numbers to pay the schools, we cut the checks and you ratify them on that at your next meeting in September, rather than wait till the 17th to look at them, make a point about them on camera, and then pay them the next day anyway, because you have to.
But you don't have, I mean, my point is, you don't have the choice of cutting a check on the 17th and taking it to them or not.
I do.
No, you do not.
The town doesn't.
You're gonna go be visiting with those lawyers again. That money is due and payable 20 days after the collection of taxes.
Yes, I
It has to
understand.
be in their hands.
However, it would be nice if Department of Education and others would get their act together and let us know
Agreed.
within a time frame so that by the end of the first quarter of the year, we have some idea of how much is owed. And the schools have some idea how much to expect.
But, you know, the easiest way to do this,
And we can subtract delinquents, can we not? No?
you can, but that's another battle.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
So go ahead, prepare, when you get a number, prepare a quarter of the checks, pay the bill, put the check number on the warrant, and we'll deal with it at the table, rather than prepaying it and then ratifying it. Why take two steps?
I'm just saying, that's the reason you don't have the warrants tonight, is we do not have numbers.
But you're essentially prepaying it and ratifying it anyhow if you wait until the next meeting, right? Because you're telling them to give them a check before our meeting.
He has to, by law, he has to.
Yeah, 'cause a certain day, you can't go beyond a certain date,
There's penalties and interest.
just 20 days after the tax bill, gotta be paid.
How many?
Okay, well, just so I understand what the policy is, I mean, I don't have a problem helping a bookkeeper to come up with a check for those and requesting that the treasurer sign and we get them in the mail on time. I will be reminded by the treasurer of the elementary school
I'm sure you will
that
be.
there's money due and payable and it needs to come. And that's fair and I don't have a problem with that. And I have to.
It's not fair when the Department of Education doesn't give you appropriate numbers. in
Well, they're
time
still
and
working,
fashion.
well, they're still working on it. They're,
Hey, what else to do with the state of Vermont?
well, they're squeezing us everywhere that it comes to paying us anything and they're, in order to fully fund the things that we have to pay.
So, Joe, did you have any more?
No.
No? Then we have a line of credit here
Yeah,
sitting
we
before
went
me.
with
Again, it is from People's United Bank in the amount of $250,000 at an interest rate of 1.5%, due and payable on September 30th, 2016. So I would entertain a motion to sign said, oh my gosh, how many times do we have to sign?
Well, I
You
think
have to
twice.
sign- You have to sign the arbitrage agreement.
I think the treasurer signs the second portion of it.
No, he signs the tax exempt piece,
Oh, okay.
but there's an arbitrage piece. I'm not sure what that is. So I would entertain a motion to sign the line of credit.
250, right?
Yes.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of signing the tax anticipation note for $250,000 at 1.5% interest rate signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. So you're all gonna have to find your relevant places to sign. There's one. There's two. Craig, you're not a notary, are you?
No, Joe is not.
No, he can't. He has to notify his own signature.
I let it go.
So it must be the arbitrage. Yes. And Joe signs that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go that way, then we'll go that way, and then it goes to Joe. You gotta sign your life away.
I am,
Yeah.
again.
That might have-
We get it notarized tomorrow.
Huh?
Get it notarized tomorrow.
Yes. Well, it asks for the clerk's signature, so that would be,
Is it just one, or do you gotta have the witness?
no, there's no witness. It has to be signed by all of us, or the majority of us, you and the clerk. And then you have to sign that tax page, the tax statement page, no profit. All right, well, that's moving around. Did we get all the warrants put back? You've got the warrants, okay, we got to put it back together.
There's a few of them that aren't signed.
There's at least 3 signatures on all of them, isn't there? No? No?
The one about the truck isn't.
Okay, then we'll
I don't know
do it.
which one it is.
We'll deal with that one.
Was there unwarranted payroll still in there, Kathy?
No,
Did you take that out? I take it.
no, I didn't take it out.
You did.
I didn't.
That one's got one.
That's the equipment, yeah.
So I've got to put that in the morning. I don't think there's any reason to look at it tonight, or is there? No? Okay.
All right, then we
3 days today?
need to go to, oh,
Is that sort of 3 days today?
I don't know who's reading them. Somebody's gonna have to volunteer.
Well, we maybe discussed that at a brief break. There might be a reason to look at that one, but I can't. The stuff that goes back to the previous year.
Oh,
There's-
that's right, that was in that one.
Yeah, just odd, whatever. We'll get through the warrants here. Members of the public,
Yeah, there's so many of them.
I can hear the wheels turning.
We haven't even gotten to the meltdown yet. Okay, so it is now Joseph's to sign his life away.
Second best till last, are we?
We are,
Yeah, they might look in the crowd.
yeah. We're all gonna be in jail together, so it won't matter. Then the warrants,
There's someplace for you on the other page. I'm sorry. All right.
I don't know, Joe, you okay with where you need to sign?
Yeah, he's got it.
Okay. Yeah, so go ahead.
Make a motion to payroll 907 01 in the amount of $7,934.83.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving pay warrant 90701, which is payroll, in the amount of $7,934.83, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Motion for check warrant number 90702, accounts payable in the amount of $3,306.90.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 90702, which is payroll withholding in the amount of $3,306.90, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion for check warrant number 90703, general fund, in the amount of $14,442.81.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 90703 from the town general fund in the amount of $14,442.81, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Motion for check warrant number 90704, highway fund, in the amount of $4,323.12.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving highway warrant 90704 in the amount of $4,323.12, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion, check warrant number 90705, the equipment fund, in the amount of $4,947.55.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What's the one with the,
That doesn't have the second tube in it, does it?
For the loader? No, that's the first one on the 15th or something like that,
Right.
20, yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
but it also has,
repair work for the
for the
freight
freight
loader.
liner,
Yeah, from
put
Patriot.
hose in,
It's, yeah,
line,
it's probably stainless steel lines, but
coolant
parallel.
line.
Yeah,
It says a
cool.
transmission coolant line in the amount of $966.81.
Almost $1,000 for transmission coolant line. Is that something you can do in-house? I mean, I think those lines just go, if you read that, it tells in detail on the slip. They charge us for cleaning up the shop and washing the truck and, well, it does in detail, I mean, which is fine, freight line tells you in detail what they charge, but man, that seems like a whole lot of money to me, it's $1,000 for it, and why? I thought we done some of that kind of work ourselves. I thought that Kurt was mechanic, you know, our foreman, mechanically inclined to be able to do some in-house repair work. The other thing is, I wondered, is that the same one with the piston
No, the piston was
on the other two?
$2,591 from Tenco.
It was the same warrant.
They're the same one.
Same one,
I mean,
different
what's-
company.
And what happened to the piston? I mean,
That's a pretty expensive piston.
that's a pretty expensive piston. And again, it seems like our equipment, even when we buy brand new vehicles, our equipment is thousands and thousands of dollars.
And there's nothing under warranty. Everything that breaks is not under warranty.
But
Yeah, see,
I don't know.
the older
It
trucks,
seems
yeah,
absolutely ridiculous to me that
but you think the older trucks, they didn't have a cool line on the transmission. Now they've changed them all that
well,
way.
I know, but I'm not a mechanic, but it seems like the backyard guy can almost change that coolant line. Am I right or wrong? I can be wrong, tell me if I am, but it seems like $1,000 to put a coolant line in is a whole ton of money. That's what I think. And
I agree with you.
And I have no explanation, no nothing to prove payment for a piston that I didn't even know it broke, and how come it broke, and what caused it, and all that sort of stuff. For how many thousand?
$2,591.40.
$2,600 for piston, and another $1,000 for
Well, you also
coolant line. $3,600.
You also have a full days of labor involved in it. It's 2 hours for each man to go over, and 2 men have to go over because you take 2 trucks. It's 2 hours to go over, 2 hours to come back, twice.
Yeah, but that's on top of the 900.
Yeah, that's on top of 30, so you got $4,000 into,
But why did they have to take it Barry or somewhere for the piston?
Patriot, to Tenco, yeah, Tenco up in Barry. And that's the big cylinder that lifts the dump body
I
out.
realize it, but 2 guys have to?
Yes.
Oh,
It'd be easier to take the piston off and bring it up. I mean, it's hitched by one on the top of the end of the ram and the other one at the end of the housing, and then you have a hydraulic hose that feeds it.
see,
At least that's how it works on mine, don't you?
again, I don't know how, I'm not a mechanic, but it seems like there's some mechanic work that can get done in-house at far less expense than what we're paying. We run these trucks around the back and forth and here and there, I mean, and you take 2 guys, as you say, 2 guys to go to Burlington, up and back, and up and get the truck and back again. It just,
Well,
And again, we use the trucks to go up and back.
I use our trucks to go up, and so you know, I mean, it just, it doesn't seem very well managed to me. I just,
So the motion on the table,
and I don't know, but, correct me, the highway foreman, I thought, had mechanical abilities to take care of the things like coolant lines and hoses and that kind of stuff. We just keep farming stuff out and farming it out and farming it out. No, no explanation for it.
all in favor?
that's where we are.
No, but I say, I thought when he was hired, that's what he was supposed to be.
Me too, but
Well, it's probably a sophisticated stainless steel line of some sort that runs up all along the bell housing and the transmission and all of that.
If they got,
But,
if they got new lines, they're all pre-shaped and put in place.
well, I understand that, and it may not be easy to get up under them. My question is, why would both lines give out? They probably didn't, it's one or the other, but they replaced both. Why isn't it just a fitting that needs to be tightened up or some Teflon tape put on it instead of the entire line? Unless the line got crimped or something like that, in which case, what happened to it? How do we damage it to the point where it actually leaked all over the place? And then you pay freight to have the thing ordered in. After they determine that indeed there is a leak, you pay $19 in freight to have it shipped in the next day, kind of thing. It gets, well, there were a lot of nickels and dimes on that bill. I'm glad to see a 9 months bill. There were a lot of nickels and dimes on that.
it seems like. I mean,
So the warrant, or the motion on the table is to approve warrant 90705, which is the equipment fund, in the amount of $4,947.55. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
All right.
all right.
Abstentions? Motion fails.
All right, make a motion for check warrant number 90706.
It'd be the general fund.
Town general fund, $1,466.09.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 90706 for the town general fund in the amount of $1,466.09 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. All right. So then we'll move down to correspondence. We have a short note from
Ray, so
Raymond Sorrentino. It says, "Dear sirs, the field across from the Shipman property is in need of cutting. Seeing your approval of the road cutting this season, we are in hope you could include this in the contract. We would appreciate some action on this matter." And it's CC'd to Charlie Marchant. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Is it roadside or is it?
No, it's between the ball field and the road. It's all going up to Sumac, yeah, it's all Sumac and everything
I
else.
think that needs to be.
A couple of, I think it's maybe 4 years ago or whenever, when we had Bruce Orchid do it, Kurt didn't supervise, or forgot to tell him at any rate that that section should be mowed, roadside mowed kind of thing. That something that had been done in the past, doesn't need to be done every year. Apparently they didn't do it last year when we rented equipment. And I know we have mowing coming up, but I don't know if their tractor and the sickle bar will do that, but.
I don't think it will because of
The contract.
and the.
Okay.
Again, it needs cutting or we're gonna be in a world.
We're gonna have a mess, we don't.
I don't know, before, when I was on, we used to get, Bunny Davis with his brush hog to do that, but I don't know who does brush hogging, if he still does or
He
whatever.
does both now. He has a cutter bar and a brush hog.
Who did it last year?
Nobody.
Nobody, see, that's the problem, it hasn't been done, so now that sumac's getting big. So it's gotta get done, otherwise it's gonna be all brush, it's that dip in there.
Yeah, I thought I got that last year.
Because of one or two manhole.
I do brush hogging, I get $60 an hour. I would gladly do it if nobody else will do it. Go
See,
from
a couple of
there.
manholes have to watch out for due to the sewer leak.
Like I said, 65, you go right over them.
Just put on your nose.
Put the headphones
So
on.
we're basically looking to having somebody take care of that brush?
Right.
Is that where we are?
I'd make a motion to, hire Rob Wright to do the brush hogging in that valley.
Is there a second? Any further discussion?
Do it, get it
All those in
done.
favor signify by saying aye.
Right,
Opposed? Abstentions? You have to abstain. So I'll vote in the affirmative, so the motion passes.
be done.
That's technically part of Taft Meadows, isn't it? Isn't that Taft Meadows
Yeah.
parcel?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I would probably do it here in the next week if Ray is watching or Claire.
No, that's not part of Taft Meadows, that's two separate parcels.
yeah.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah, it's south of that, but there's a stone wall and trees and everything else in between.
Usually, you know what it
Yep.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
All right, then on to old business.
is. Was there other question?
No.
No, that's all right.
Okay, officer appointments, I don't think we've found anybody that, oh, yeah, no, they didn't show up.
We might want to just, in correspondence, acknowledge the receipt.
The funny thing is, it doesn't even come to me, it went to Anita. Basically, it just, a letter from Ruth Van Houten stating that some people were going to attend tonight's meeting to discuss the dam and the condition of the dam. Okay, officer appointments, I don't think there's been any movement whatsoever on any new people who are willing to fill vacancies. I know we still need somebody for regional.
Well, it's getting a little late for that.
That's true.
You're 6 months in it now. And I haven't talked to Brad Horn. We're gonna need somebody for floodplain administrator. I don't wanna open that up at this point.
No.
Because that's coming up here pretty quick again. And Valley Care's representative, Valley Care's representative we have, and then I think Senior Solutions was the other
It's still
important one.
open.
Yeah.
Like I said, if anybody has any ideas about filling any of those vacancies, it would be helpful to have somebody in their seats. Land sales, we actually had our attorney draw up in this mess,
Draft.
quitclaim deeds for the 2 parcels that we took bids on. And we still need some basic information to finish filling out the PTRs, et cetera, to get this transactions actually done. And one of the things I noticed when I was reviewing it is that he has down signing for the town, Craig Hunt as the duly authorized agent to sign on the town's behalf on this quitclaim deed. So it appears to me that we need to decide who's going to act on the town's behalf, so
I would
that
have the chair, I would have the chair.
so that we can
Or the
speak,
treasurer.
Yeah. so that we can speak. The only problem with the treasurer doing it,
Or your grand juror.
one of, the treasurer was actually purchased one of these as delinquent tax collector. And that would be funny on the backside, now selling it on behalf of the town.
Selling it back to himself. Or taking what it, yeah.
Do conflict of interest.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Little bit.
So
Well,
basically,
selling it to a delinquent.
Well, he
tax
can
collector.
change that to select board chair.
he can change it to anything at this point in time. I just noticed that he did have Craig down as the agent.
Yeah, I would suggest they change it to select board chair.
Yeah, I think that,
They keep making mistakes about me. I'm not anyway for promotions or more.
Yes, you are, and you're gonna
No, I'm not. And,
You're gonna get it all right.
but the attorneys also made that mistake last year, different kind, but
Well, at some point, we have to discuss that administrative assistant and authorize you, because you're the one that's doing all of the communications, and you're the
but I'm
one
not
that
an
has...
official of the town.
I
I'm an
know.
official of yours.
I know.
So
Was a vacation coming up, by the way, yes.
anyway, shall we instruct Craig to be in touch with Mr. Ancuda, then and have the town agent signed or changed to the chair of the select board?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we
Any
need to
further
vote?
dis-
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So if you could let him know that.
They're gonna make a few
I mean-
changes in this, but.
Right, he's gonna need to get, the other pieces for the PTR anyway.
It's a work in progress, but we'll get it started.
And somebody's going to have to let the 2 individuals know they're also responsible for the property transfer tax.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and the hope was that this would be an easy, closing, easy transaction. They wouldn't need to be represented by council because this was gonna be quick claim and basically, but they need the heads, the paperwork we'll fill out on our side, but, yeah, there's more information to come, social security numbers, all that.
All right, so the next piece is a state management decision letter that we received concerning the audit that was done for the fiscal year of 2014. The state, because this was tied to the Valley Cares grant, the state has decided they did not like the findings of the audit and have written and asked us, not asked, pretty much demanded that we tell them exactly how we're going to address all the issues that were brought forward in the audit. I will note that 4 of these, of the 6, are exact duplicates of what were in the 2012 audit. So that didn't change. There's nothing really that's new here.
And that's a complaint from 2012, right?
Yeah, they were the complaints in 2012 as well.
Can I make copies of your letter or should I make, I didn't, so can I do that very quickly?
You can if you want.
Okay, is that where we're going with this?
I don't know if that's where we're going with this. or
Okay,
not.
so I know it's a Joe sign, but. And you want me to make copies of part of that as well?
Well, it's up to you.
Okay.
Then we're gonna table it because that's a lot of pages to read.
Well, you can point out the,
Well, just so we can see what the
yeah, let me just do
what
this
the
real quick.
complaints are. Or deficiencies, I should say, right?
Well, one of the deficiencies was why we did not oversee the building of Valley Cares, and we did not do our due diligence to making sure they were spending the money appropriately. They did not like the town's answer that we didn't have enough personnel and/or expertise to do so.
So
And you can read my response to that.
what was it?
Hey, I'm not gonna say, you can read it. You're
It
getting,
would be censored?
I know, it would not be censored. It's snarky.
Yeah. I can imagine.
I got my snark on. It's a 4-page, it took me 4 hours to write it.
So you had one brewing pretty good by the time the 4 hours
Oh,
was up?
yeah, by the time I got to that last one, yeah, it was getting pretty good. Just yell, I'll throw it down
I
there.
think I think it just seems like they changed their.
They keep changing the criteria.
Things,
You push it, instead of asking permission, you push it till you can ask forgiveness.
Well, but that's not really the case, because what this is coming back and haunting us time and time and time again. Till there's no end in sight to the amount of
So
effort
you
we're
ask
having.
forgiveness instead of...
Well,
No,
a lot of
they
times.
don't give you, they just want more.
Yeah, but a lot of times what happens too with the state is these people that are charged with making sure this is right are new and they have to justify their job. So they find things that are,
Yeah, they keep changing.
And you got an original somewhere.
yeah, and it's not the way that it was presented
No, not this original,
before.
I have the letter.
My letter
I
original.
haven't photocopied that, you're talking about this.
Okay. Okay, this is.
You can carry on the conversation. when we
This is
come
what
to
we
it.
received from the state.
Oh, but this is the job, let him worry about it.
I was in enough of a mood, I almost walked in and laid it on Joe's plate and said, have fun. And the response is written basically from Joe's point of view, so he's gonna have to read the response and see if he's in a snarky mood too.
Well, the first one, bank reconciliations not performed since May 2013 result in the town's accounting process being incomplete and vulnerable. That's on us, right, if we haven't done that.
Right. And that's addressed. I mean, again, I went through each one of these 6 points
Right.
and addressed them in my response.
This is your response here, right?
No, that's not my
That's-
response. That was the response that was the accounting firm gave. They came and spoke to us after they identified these. This
Okay.
is the response. We agree with this finding and it will improve. Is
So-
what we said to the auditor.
So the second one is on the tax collector. The
Yes.
delinquent tax collector, that's their responsibility, right?
Well, but it's the fact that there's still no transparency into the movement of accounts.
Well, we have to do that, I mean, I don't know how we,
So, like I said, there's no way we can sit here and read all this tonight. So my suggestion would be, this is not due until the end of the month. So please take both pieces home and read it. The letter that I wrote in response, which is the one that has on the town letterhead, there's a clean copy here, and it would be signed by Joe Daniel, since this letter was actually addressed to the treasurer. So you can come back and do whatever you please with the letter. I've put my time in on it. So Craig, can you hang on to this one
I can.
in the drawer?
Yep.
for the time being. And then we'll put it on the agenda for next time to bring it up again.
These complaints, so I would suggest that we let our new bookkeeper review them. She can address a lot of that.
Well, she doesn't have to. She wasn't there, she can't really respond to it. We as management have to respond to it.
That's right, but at least she'll be aware of what we're doing.
I absolutely agree. And an awful lot of my response hinged on the fact that we have a new bookkeeper in place and things are going to start straightening out. Right. So the next one would be, let's do Allenware first. I believe Newbrook Fire Department is going to have a 5K run this weekend, is it this coming weekend? Does anybody know?
No, I believe it's
27th, is it?
26th, I thought it was on a Saturday, which would be the 26th, I believe.
Oh, somewhere, 25th, 26th, somewhere. in there.
Could be a Friday, I thought it was Saturday though.
I don't know just when it is, but I'd say something around
But they
that.
had requested that we allow the road to be closed for the morning.
Right. So I would entertain a motion. We did in fact allow them to do that last year. I did entertain a motion.
Do we have that in writing from them?
We do not, I thought Kyle brought it up at one of the last
He did.
meetings. I haven't seen anything in writing. We do have a meeting on the 17th, but that's close.
A letter of intent? Isn't that what everybody else
Well,
gets?
it's just a request, because it's a request from Newbrook to close Allenware Road.
Right, and I'm trying to remember what the date, I wrote down a note, put this on the agenda, but I didn't have the details.
I'm just going by what's been said before about other things, about letter of intent.
But we could certainly ask somebody, I'm gonna see when. We could certainly ask them for a letter of request.
Okay.
So do you wanna do that or should I do that?
I can try to, and I'll let you know how far I get within, the first 6 hours of tomorrow, or by the end of tomorrow, I'll let you know if I have
I think you
success.
gotta find out if it's the 19th or the 26th, or what the date is.
It's.
Oh, no, yeah, we should have something in writing for the file and for you
Okay.
guys to actually approve,
Okay.
because I'm just guessing on the date, and unless you make a motion with the date, it's there's hardly any point.
Alright, so that takes care of that. Oh. Alright, the next one is errors and omissions. Should we take a break before we do this one?
Yes, please.
I'd entertain a motion to take a 10-minute break.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstentions, we'll be back at,
28.
So I'll call the meeting back to order at 7:40. And let's see, the next order of business is the errors and omissions request from Mike Bills.
Lester.
Goes through the board of Lesters.
Yes, so those, somehow I lost, there it is. I lost my thing. He basically is asking that the board grant an error on his property that appears to have been billed for 2 wells and 2 sewers, and he's claiming that the property only has 1 of each, with a reduction in value of about $20,000. And this is.
Can you just give me the parcel number and
It's
change
parcel,
form to?
it's parcel number 10006-000,
Right,
and it's from 164.4
yeah,
revised to 144.4.
okay, thank you.
And it has in fact been signed by the other 2 remaining listers. So there was a quorum that approved this change or this request. So I would entertain a motion.
You're gonna do that before you can discuss it, right?
Yep.
When you're talking, I'm
Yeah.
so move.
Is there a second?
What was your
So
motion?
we can talk about it.
Motion was to talk about it.
No,
the motion is to approve
the
it.
request.
You have to do that in order to get it on the table to talk about it.
I'll second.
Second.
Just conversation piece.
Okay, so, is there any discussion on this?
Yeah,
How does he not know?
Well, the first thing,
We did a reappraisal 2 years ago.
this really has nothing to do with the reappraisal.
does.
No, it actually doesn't.
Well, it would give you a description of what's on there. Go ahead, sorry.
There was the property in question this year actually did have a change of appraisal notice that went out before the grand list was filed
this year.
this year. I do have a copy of the certificate, the mail certificate here with his name on it, showing that in fact a letter was sent stating that the property value had changed. He did not grieve it.
Was that an increase or a decrease in property value? Do you know?
It was a decrease, but I don't have the numbers in my head.
But he did not grieve it, and now is coming back and saying that there was an error when that letter, or when that new value was figured, or that change was figured, that basically had 2 wells and 2 septic systems on this piece of property. The one thing that I did find, that I find rather unusual in looking at this, is that in what appears to be 2012, the landowner and/or the state made that parcel 10006 contiguous with parcel number 09014.
Which is the Grafton Road.
00, which is a second
The log
piece
cabin.
of property that he owns. When those were contiguous, they would have in fact had a sewer and a well on both pieces of property, because they were both houses.
Yep.
Again, taking it the next step, one of the things we did find was those properties seem to have been separated again back to individual properties, because they're both receiving tax bills now. A contiguous property would only receive one tax bill, they would not receive separate bills.
Yeah, but see, the piece in between was sold,
Right.
so Farmbacks divided them, so it isn't one continuous.
Oh, so that's it, was Fairbanks bought it, it was the ancient road.
But I thought the ancient road was kept.
The ancient road was, but Mike owned property on the hillside between his house next to Carol's roughly and the one where his mom lived on.
The
Still,
land in between,
So
but the land in between was sold.
next 2 properties.
Yeah, we take it back to 2. Okay, so that explains how it got divided again.
But there would still be 1 well and 1 septic for each. And
For each
apparently,
Each parcel.
Yeah,
So what remains is if his property value went down this year,
probably because of that sale. Because this isn't, we're actually talking about the home farm. This parcel number 10.
yeah, but when was that sale? Before this year.
last year.
Yeah, it was last
Or the
year,
year
so-
before. but it
Year
was last
before.
year. Yeah, it could
I
have been.
think the home farm, you find is in the kid's name. That's where his mother left it, but I'm not sure.
it was
The tax bill's coming to him.
It was jointly with
Huh?
him, it was joint with he and his mother, which he passed. So it went,
Yeah, but I think.
But the tax bill is coming to him right now.
Yeah.
The owner.
Maybe, but I believe that he can't do nothing with the home farm because the kid's name's on it.
Yeah, but that's not really what we're gonna discuss, I
No.
don't think. We're talking about if he had a reduction in his property value this year, what was that based on? All right, and at that time, it should be decided which one gets the well and, see what I'm saying?
Well, they both should have a well and septic. It sounds
Right.
like, and I'm just speculating it, but it sounds like when the properties got divided, 2 wells and 2 septics went with the farm, and 1 well and septic stayed with the cabin, so to speak, the log cabin. When there were only 2 and 1, or 2 wells and 2 septics to begin with.
Right.
When it was divided, 2 went with incorrectly. But I don't know how I would hope that the listers don't make those kinds of mistakes. That having been said,
It's a $20,000 difference too, and I don't know what formula they use for value of a well and a septic.
That's in the Canvas system because the card doesn't actually list.
I mean, there's gotta be, you don't just pick a number, do you? There's gotta be a
no,
formula.
well, it's worth something, the septic system's worth something.
Yeah, and it has to, you've gotta have some sort of a formula to do that, because that's a $20,000 drop in value.
Well, I think that the biggest issue for me is the fact that there was a change to the property prior to the lodging of the grand list. And in fact, it was not caught, the error was not caught at that time, even though there was a change of appraisal notice that was sent, and the grievance process time did pass. There was it was not brought to anybody's attention. It's not like Mr. Bills was unaware of the fact that he had to grieve it if he didn't like it. So to come back now and ask us to change it, my response would be exactly as it was in a previous case, was you didn't go through grievance, therefore you need to wait until next year to do to put forward any change.
I've personally run into that issue. I know a number of people have, not with Mike per se, but with some other listers in previous terms, where if you miss the deadline, you miss the deadline. And you will have to wait until the next opportunity, which would be next May or
I think
June.
I said something about that a couple of meetings ago.
Well, we did,
We did.
when we buried, basically based on that. You missed the deadline, so. In this case, there's no excuse whatsoever.
Well, because it was up for being, if the owner had checked the property during the grievance period, when it was noted that the valuation was changing anyway, because the listers decided to change the valuation, that's when all the shoes should have been tied and the T's crossed.
Well, that kind of my question is, the valuation was dropped this year, we don't know by how much, but is that taking into consideration the well, and it just didn't get written down? I mean, I don't know,
Well, it's very difficult to speculate without somebody to answer the questions.
that's right, and I know we've asked time and again, we've asked the listers when they have this to please come in and explain. And there's nobody here to do that. I think we should table it at least until we get some answers to the questions. But, and I agree.
I think that we should table until the next grievance period, when
Then that's-
everybody else that gets their tax bill.
That's not tabling it.
Well, then you deny it.
Then you
So-
just deny it.
Then I would deny it.
So is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of allowing a change to the grand,
Approving.
Also, yeah.
That's it.
Martin made a motion to approve the request of the listers for parcel number.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the change in parcel number 10006 from 164.4 to 144.4, as requested by the owner, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion is defeated. I'm trying to keep the pile separated. Okay, other business. Kid, you wanted to talk about the dam letter. The
Yeah.
dam being D-A-M, not
The damn letter,
D-A-M-N.
well, I'm sure that, let me just, I can't find my copy now.
Right here.
Okay. This is the letter that we received in December of 2014, but is once again confirmation that the Connecticut River Valley Flood Control Commission is not in favor of increasing or reviewing the value of the flood dam for an increase in the pilot payment, which was payment in lieu of taxes. And at that time, they said that they list the benefits to the town of Townsend from the federal flood control dam. And the benefits to the town of Townsend is local flood control, recreational use and business revenue from visitors, and protection of land in the flood zone that should not be developed, which means down in the basin. So I don't know how that's benefiting us necessarily because it keeps us from building tax revenue. And it has a reduced burden for services to that land that is flooded, such as supplying public utilities and schools for undeveloped land. And I would take issue with each one of those, again, in our quest for revisitation to an increase in pilot loans, especially given the condition that that dam has been all summer for the past several years since the flood of Irene. And now has become, in my opinion, a health hazard. So I'm not sure if the board is in favor of pursuing this any further, probably not. Also, I just wanted to discuss again on camera so folks in town would know the estimate payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot for the state-owned property, the state forest and all that. If I'm reading this correctly and help me, we're getting a reduction, almost half, am I right? It's about,
And the sentence right above that will tell you why.
yeah.
Because they didn't budget enough money.
The Department of Taxes revised the preliminary calculation of what they were gonna pay us because, well, they don't have enough money.
The legislature did not approve enough money for the payment in lieu of taxes
Yeah.
program, and therefore they prorated our payment in lieu of taxes to be reduced by well over a third.
Well over, almost a half.
Almost a half.
So, we're only gonna be getting $2,790 in the pilot program instead of the projected 5,758, whatever it was.
Just to clarify
That's on the state one.
back to the previous letter that you were referring to from the Connecticut River Valley Flood Authority. I copied that for you. I didn't for everybody else. I think they've seen it in the past. It's a couple of years old now. That was in response to a letter that you sent.
That's right.
Right after reappraisal, help draft, but we sent that to them in plenty of time for their December meeting. We sent it in early November. Subsequent to reappraisal, with the valuation of the 900, almost 1,000 acres at Army Corps federal property at the dam, rose in valuation from 300 and something thousand to well over $1 million. We sent that on hoping that they would look at that fairly because they are charged with this floodplain commission is charged with providing payment in lieu of taxes based on tax rates and assessed value. That having been said, it took them almost a year to get back because they only meet twice a year.
Yeah.
But it took them almost a year to write this letter back. And right in front of, I believe, what you were citing as some of their reasons for it, I think the quotable quote in there, I made this copy for Bob DeServo, with whom I'm working on a response on other matters, mostly the condition of the Townsend Lake at this point. But the quotable quote in there, I think, is that the town of Townsend probably enjoys revenues from tourism, from this destination, this lake as a recreational facility, well in excess of what they might pay in lieu of taxes.
He does say that, so
And
the benefits,
Yeah.
the benefits listed above are more than likely to outweigh the tax loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they took some fine agricultural land too.
Right, but I don't think we're receiving $6,000 or $7,000 in benefits from tax revenues for people who are using this as a destination resort. At least not this summer.
Or last summer.
Anyhow, be that as it may, it's a point of information, and personally, I will continue to beat the drum.
Yeah, but we're getting less than $9,000 for 2,000, approximately 2,000 acres.
56, same thing you got back in
Yeah, that's for 1,000 acres.
Yeah, but I think that's actually, the people that own large parcels of property should feel more gypped than anybody else, because they're paying an exorbitant amount compared to the other people. Well, to not the other people, but to the government and the state for their land. Right around.
Yeah, well, I mean, this compact, and it says, the commission responds that it has honored its duties that are outlined in the 1953 compact under the conditions which the member states were willing to increase funding, so,
Yeah, it's the same price as even back then.
and
Essentially.
it's for now, I mean, we can holler at our legislators and that kind of thing, but I don't think they'll back us any more than they backed us on getting the dam cleaned up. And people up in Montpelier, from the governor on down, have not assisted the town of Townshend in putting any pressure on getting the dam cleaned up. It's a health hazard. It's just, and on it goes.
Made even worse by the fact that we're putting in a hydro.
Now they're putting in a hydro.
Which they've dropped, whatever water was there, they've dropped even lower.
Because they need a road at
They
low
need a
water
road
line.
underneath,
Right.
right.
That's right, and again, I mean, that's not even talking about, I don't know how many million they spent on the ledges. I don't know if they've created more of a hazard, it looks that way to me, but.
The state,
Oh, my.
yeah, they spent, that was a big project of theirs.
Yeah, but that loose rock way overrunning the yardages from
Yeah,
what was estimated.
All right,
anyhow, that's just what I wanted to, I don't know.
But they took, as far as them saying the benefits, it costs us more to maintain the roads with all the extra traffic and stuff, so, you know.
We accepted that. We talked about discontinuing that road after Irene, and because the culvert had failed, which the Army Corps put in, but because that culvert had failed, they told us we couldn't discontinue the road until we brought the road back to the condition that it was in prior to
I'm
Irene.
not talking strictly that road.
Oh, no, but
I'm talking all of that road.
well, we don't.
Read that way.
all right. And one other thing that I kind of skipped over, but it's in the same grain, well, it's through my pen, actually. It's in the same grade as what we were just discussing. The state, in their infinite wisdom, has now decided that rather than just sending us that pilot money or the money for land use, I can't remember what the 5 things were, but we now have to, they're treating it as grant money now. They don't just send it to you. They're treating it as grant money. And you have to log into their little, you have to log into their little system, and you have to have your password, and you have to push the button, and you have to actually request the payment, and we need to appoint somebody to do that.
Forest land that you were referring to earlier, Kit, payment in lieu of taxes for state-owned property out at the park. Payment in lieu of taxes is now seen as a grant from the state, for which every year we have to apply, for which every year they will determine how big the funding is and what kind of prorated discount they're gonna potentially give us. It's no longer guaranteed, it's no longer automatic. You have to ask for it, and then you have to account for the money afterwards. And you have to basically log in and fill out paperwork and open up a file drawer.
So if we apply for the, instead of payment in lieu of taxes, which is now gonna be a grant of $2,700, we will be required to perform an audit. In order
Only if
to-
it hits a certain dollar amount.
Well,
It adds
in
up.
combination though.
Yeah,
So a combination of the highway grant, of the other grants, so you're gonna have to do an audit. It's gonna cost you more than the
About 20
$2,700
about 20 grand, yeah.
that you're gonna get in payment
Although,
for taxes.
to be fair, we got our line of credit, we were in fact told
We were advised.
we should consider putting audit money into the budget every year.
We have to have.
Because the state is getting, and state and the banks are getting kind of funky.
We were
about
advised that we
towns.
should do an independent outside audit annually,
Yeah.
because these requirements are becoming more onerous, more constant.
I think you're gonna have to do that anyhow, I believe that, but I don't know. I just think the people up in Montpelier, and I just,
Yeah, well,
they just keep
Make a job for themselves,
I
that's what it
don't,
is.
they make a job for themselves, but they just,
They don't give it down what it costs the towns.
the governor on down. Thank you, Peter.
So do we actually want to assign somebody this task of applying for those grants? I believe it starts with this year, does it not?
We need to apply for them, I believe, by the 15th.
Okay.
This month.
Well, for the payment in lieu, there are 5 of them, I can only think of 4. One is listed as education, that doesn't matter, Nick, so that one's already gone in. The other is the reappraisal fund, is now a grant.
Right.
Even though we're paying extra money in our property taxes in order to fund back that, basically it's a savings account, enforced savings account, but anyway, that's not considered a grant. The payment in lieu of taxes is considered a grant, and the whole harmless current use program is now considered a grant. So that $45,000-$50,000 that we anticipate every year is now coming in the form of a grant. Or at least it's just a shifting of the name. The shifting of the name shifts the definition, and the definition has strings attached. So it's now considered a grant for which we have to apply. It is no longer automatic.
Right, back to the letter. And we do not have a qualified representative to represent us in Montpelier anyhow, right?
Well, it's been in discussion on the listserv for the town clerks and the town treasurers as to who should do this. The request ultimately on a quorum or a consortium of the people that have discussed it is that the select board should make a decision. It can be your treasurer, your town clerk, it can be the board chair or somebody. It doesn't have to be consistent through the years, but you should establish somebody that can actually log in, sign off, and get these things going.
I understand that. But we have to do that now before the next week.
Pretty much.
I'm believing it's the 15th. You got your copy here, I don't know. I've got my copy. Kathy had a.
I don't have a copy.
No?
I don't have a copy.
Okay, all right. Let me see if I've got one right here in the next meeting file. Okay.
Well, they just don't care about the little guy, do they?
Nope. They just gotta make themselves a job. Just like law school.
Well, I will tell you, if it even remotely begins to take on the flavor of the Valley Cares grant, the door isn't big enough for me to get out of
Well,
fast
in
enough.
your letter's perfectly appropriate. I mean, they changed all the rules on that after the fact. I don't know, I wish we had really deep pockets, because I'd like to do a federal lawsuit or some kind of a lawsuit against the state for some of this. They promise you the moon and then they back out and they stab you in the back. They really do. And representatives that you elect do the same thing. They promise you they're gonna do this, that, and the other. They go up there and this is what you get.
I don't see
Listen,
that.
I put more
So,
time into that Valley Cares grant since I was elected on this board than any other item I've dealt with. And I've dealt with some humdingers.
That's what we forgot. But I think it's okay, but it is. I think you care about that.
No, that's not us. I don't even want to talk about that, okay?
Yeah, no,
I mean, I'd even publicly invite Peter Shumlin, our governor of the state of Vermont, to come and address the board and explain these changes in the costs that it's making, not just to Townshend, but to all the other little towns. Probably won't accept the challenge, but I'd ask him to come visit us.
okay, you have it. Let's see.
I doubt if you see it, but
Okay, so the state payment in lieu of property taxes paid pursuant to 32 VSA, so it's payment in lieu of taxes. State payment to municipalities for reappraisal costs, which is the reappraisal fund. The current use hold harmless, can't think. The hold harmless payment for the current use program. State payment to municipalities for assistance with the equalization study and municipalities for lister education. So those are now all 5 being considered as grants instead of things that we prepay for. Please complete and return all grant agreements by September 15th, 2015 to avoid delay in state payments, as payments of the grant programs will not be distributed without completed agreements. And of course, they reserve the right to not fully fund any of these. Depending.
So the question on the table is still, who do we want to designate with that task?
Right now,
With Craig?
yeah.
I think at this point, he's the only
I
one.
mean, just because of our short time frame, at least in this point, I'd make a motion to appoint Craig to I know. Offer, I'll give him the authority.
We go back to that agent of the
Give
town.
him
We're gonna have a
authority. I
discussion
know.
after you
I
adjourn.
know.
All right, is there a second for that?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing Craig to file for, I don't know, the pilot et al. Grants?
Yeah. You're gonna put your little initials next to mine because you were the one who swore up and down for the last 2 months we're never, ever gonna file online for any more grants, don't care what they are. Right, okay.
I mean, and it's all part of this, I don't know, this little secret stuff going on to kinda
So all those in favor
regionalize
of making him do
everything.
this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll give you my cell phone number, you can catch me wherever.
Okay. The one thing I did forget in the correspondence, because Craig just handed it to me, says, "Hi Craig, I misplaced your email but found it this morning. I'm getting back to you about the wedding on the Common for September 12th, 2015. Unfortunately, the Townshend Dam looks like it will be closing after this weekend, leaving us with very short notice to find something else. We thought the Common would be perfect because it's right on Route 30 and 35, where guests will be traveling through. It would be in use from 3 to 4:30. Everything will be cleaned up by 5. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. You can also reach me by phone. Thank you for your time. Michelle Goulet."
That just got misfiled. I have been receiving calls over the last month or so with requests either to use the Common or not. And Anita's been running them my way because the board has been adamant about, well, I won't say adamant, but the board has indicated that it wants to review these things. Things like this never were, I mean, they were always handled by Anita. But this one came to me anyway, just so that you could basically approve it. As you will, I did turn down one that came late minute without insurance from afar. And I believe there's another one in the queue for a yard sale. But in any case, this one, she wanted to hold the wedding at the dam, and apparently they're not open after Labor Day.
After 3.
It says
3 to 4:30.
3 to 4:30.
I was gonna say that's at school. Whatever.
Well, it's a Saturday.
Saturday.
Huh?
Saturday.
They don't go to school here on Saturday usually,
Not really.
unless you're in trouble.
So as Craig said,
Tomorrow ain't a teacher's day.
that this has always been handled by the clerk, you know, as long as there wasn't a conflict on the Common. I don't think
Is
there's,
there anything on the calendar?
No.
no, I think she actually spoke to Anita.
No, okay, as long as there's nothing on the calendar, there's no conflict that way. Yeah.
So what's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion to let Miss Goulet, or Ms. Goulet, whatever, use the Common for the wedding.
Is there a second? On the
Second.
12th of September. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of allowing the wedding on the 12th on the Common, signify by saying aye.
Then
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. And then just for general information, there is a tax sale notice that's been posted. We are in the process of putting a piece of property back through tax sale again. It's a repeat offender. Anything else so that we?
Yeah.
Okay, Herb, okay, you got something for me, okay.
Remember they said that they were supposed to loan under the solar panels?
Yep, no, they're not long. They agreed to put grass.
Progressive.
Yeah, but all they've done is put just some hay down there. They had nothing for anything to grow, it's all gravel. So they put the panels in. And the town had that loaned before they went in there. And I think something awful drastically wrong. It was loaned and grass growing, and it had to be graded a certain way. Now the goddamn stuff running right the way that they told us back when we closed the old dump that you wasn't supposed to be headed that way, and they got it graded that way.
Did somebody put some hay on it?
And they put a little bit out next to the road, so you see it out there, but it ain't all done. So I went up there this afternoon, and I noticed it Saturday when I went to buy that with a truck.
Call them up, ask them when they're gonna finish it, put some loam down.
I thought it said they were supposed to loan that, but
Call them up, ask them when they're gonna finish it.
That was a passing, ship passing in the night. The person that put the solar panels in passed Kurt Bostrom at a meeting here. And it was oh, by the way, the state says you have to plant grass. And that's all the discussion that's ever really been had.
Well, I sent an email to Anna as a
Yeah, my
reminder
favorite
on
person.
that. Kurt did bring it because he talked to Todd Meneas and he did not want the town to get fined. Peter did agree to do it. I don't know the grass would grow out there. Maybe it did and it died because it's so damn hot. Makes it look like hay. But in any case, changing the subject to something more positive, we did get our lease payment for last year for that 2 acres, and another one is forthcoming in about a month for this year. The payment should be coming in advance of the year, not at the end of the year, the lease year, so to speak. And Kathy and I had worked on that, and we got that resolved. We did get the check for the first payment. We will be getting a second check here very shortly.
Then if I could suggest that we write a letter to them saying that the site is not acceptable in accordance with the agreement for planting and growing grass.
That's not in the agreement. Nowhere in any of the agreements is there any mention of that.
Well, I'll take it one further. Usually on state land, town land, and anything that gets done, according to Tim Morton, he has a whole, who's the county forester, or not the county forester, but he's the forester for the
the state
state.
come and got after me because I
They
didn't
have
want
a
to go
whole
in and sold.
recommendation of the specs per square footage of how many seeds and flakes and da-da-da.
Yeah,
There's a whole manuscript of things that they're supposed to do, and I think that they should be held like anybody else
I
that
do
works
too.
on the town and the state land, that it gets seeded.
But I'll bet you dollars to donuts that certificate of public good, if you had department against department, I pretty much guarantee you who's gonna win.
Todd McNeese would win over everybody.
I don't
Did
know.
they get an Act 250?
they did. Yep. And I don't know why it's not in there.
I was gonna say, I'd like to see a copy of it.
There was no 250 with
No,
them.
I don't believe, not for the solar farm. It was just the 2 acres that they used. We
There
subdivided.
is a certificate of public good issued in the town's name.
By the state.
By the state.
And it was approved by Agency of Natural Resources
And
and the
right.
Historic Commission and all the departments. The Public Service Board has fast track when they want it. And,
There isn't anything written on it, any conditions or
Well,
anything?
I don't know, I would,
no, but because the ground was scarified and because the trees and whatever the brush was cut and it ended
well,
up
they
being
weren't even
saved.
supposed to take that berm out.
No, it's supposed to have a burn.
was
They weren't supposed to take the berm out. I pretty much believe they probably weren't supposed to cut the trees and just leave them laying all over the place. Some
I thought
still
They
hanging
didn't cut the,
trees.
they didn't cut the trees.
There was a-
That was contracted separately.
No, I'm saying afterwards, Kathy. Not when independent partners logged the land. There was trees that were cut afterwards when they put the
There's
panels.
somewhere out there cut a
And
bunch
if
of
you go up
trees.
there's still some of them leaning in the trees
But all that.
that are
the
cut
tree-
off. Like if you went there, you would walk underneath them and they would be over your head,
I think there's
severed from the stump.
some way that we can make them,
Well, again, we had a discussion, as you recall, in executive session at the last meeting about discussing issues with our lawyer. Do you remember that discussion? I think this is another one that we probably need to have.
But I'd like to,
With
do you
legal.
know where the paperwork is on?
I know exactly where it is. It's filed,
I'd like to see it,
it's filed in the town record book.
yeah. Okay.
because I had McNamara and all them guys when I done some road work, and it wasn't anywhere near as much as that, and they was right on my case
I'm sure.
about it.
I've dealt with the state before on logging jobs, and if you have open dirt and this and that, and you're around a stream,
Especially on
a
that
certain pitch, and I've gone to lead programs and gotten certified for this and that, and they have all this different stuff where you're not supposed to leave dirt just wide open at a certain grade and on this and that, and
Yeah, I think they can be forced to do that, I do.
Oh, somebody can be.
It'll be us that does
It
it.
could be because we own the land and maybe we have to maintain it.
It'll be, culpability wise, we're just leasing the land, so
Maybe.
if there's an issue, then we're technically the ones responsible for
But,
taking care of it.
one other little thing. We got traffic up here at Valley Cares at a parking lot on the blacktop on
City funding.
You got traffic at Valley Cares parking where?
On the road.
Right on, stuck right out into the road. You're coming down through with a truck and the car's coming up through, somebody's got to stop.
They park on the road a lot because the parking lots aren't big enough.
Well, that might be, but they should be doing something. So,
Well, yeah, they shouldn't be parking on the road. I agree with
right,
that.
that's what I mean, so they shouldn't be parking on the road, walking down through the clipboard, and they're gonna blame me for,
Right, but you have 5 selectmen who might have the authority to say something about it. You could tell your constable to say something about it. You could probably have your road foreman say something about it. I don't know where you go from there. Unless you have a parking ordinance for Route 35,
Well-
which extends past the
yeah, but
pharmacy.
it's illegal to park in a travel portion of the way.
Well, we have the state police to enforce, but maybe a letter to Valley Cares requesting
It
it.
didn't happen to me, but I happened to come
Nick.
going up through, and I see a truck coming down through, and the car going up through, and the truck had to stop, because the car was stuck right on the road, but out on the blacktop. Towards the center line from the white line. It's not happened more than just once, it's been the last week or two.
It happens frequently enough.
That's all I have.
Anybody else? All right. Then I will entertain a motion to find that premature general public knowledge of mediation proceedings in the civil case of Derry versus Townshend et al. Would place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage if it were discussed in public, since agreements in mediation are confidential.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of finding that premature public knowledge would be a substantial disadvantage, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session with Craig Hunt to discuss mediation results under Title I, Section 313A1F.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Not me.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.